That's what we're talking about.
So one stretch.
That is what we're talking about.
Look at that. I didn't see my face.
Good morning, everybody. I'm in a secret destination. I'm gonna chuck out a quick stealthy rod. Let me show you what I'm doing. All I'm doing is very supple, lightweight rig. I made up an air rig, a shot to pin it down, swivel so it's gonna lay on the bottom like this, with no lead on. So I've chucked my little stealthy margin rod along the edge there. So, well, that's kind of a good sign, even though it's in my finger. Hang on. Well, it's good to see that the hooks are mega sharp. This is a Ronnie. Got a bit of hook bait spray. Gonna give it some of that. Plonk it out there and just pult a few boilies along the island. This is the first time using this mix. I've chopped up some Scopex squid boilies in various sizes. The other stuff you can see is the lighter brown stuff, this fluffy stuff on top, it's Bailey's horse feed, and in amongst it, this darker stuff there is bran. I'm going to put a video up of quantities. I won't tell you now because I'll be uploading a video to show you. Basically it's 3/4 Bailey's horse feed, 1/4 bran. Then you can have boilies, oils, whatever you want. This is going in there. So if you're fishing and you've got spare bait, especially maggots, freeze them. The fish will still eat them. There's no point in chucking them in the lake just to feed the fish at the end of the session. You can do this, saves you money, saves you going back to the tackle shop, spending another £5 or whatever you spend on maggots. Here we are. I'll give this a mix round. So here we go. There's the balls of ground bait. You can see the maggots, chunks of boilie, all the stuff the carp like. I'm going to get them out there along the edge of the island. Definitely having one rod there. I like the margins on these lakes, so there's a good chance I'll stick a rod down there. I've just chucked some balls of ground bait along this margin. Only problem is I'm having trouble filming. I've left my tripod at home, so everything I'm filming is with me holding by hand. So there's going to be a lot of propping up my camera on random items through the session. 3 rods out. May tweak rigs and baits later, but as for now, that's where they're staying. Just had a delivery from a friend. You gotta love a chocolate orange.
I actually woke up this morning with a stinking cold, so I'm chilling out, having a lay down. Don't feel very well, but it's not going to stop me fishing. I'll tell you what I've just did with one of my rods, right? I'm being lazy, I'm staying on my bed. Left hand rod was along the margins here, near in, but I saw, if you can imagine, further along this island, a fish lunked once, twice, like a dolphin. So quickly grab my rod, recast on top of that carp, polted out about 6 boilies around it, and we sit and wait, see if something happens. It's a very windy day. The swim I've chosen, luckily, is kind of sheltered, so I'm away from the wind, but every now and then there's a huge gust and all these trees are shaking on the far bank. There's a field behind these trees, quite open, and I think I'm quite fortunate to be in a sheltered swim. And if a fish comes along, that'd be a bonus.
Fish in the net. Oh,
I reckon about 20. Oh, and it unhooked.
oh, and the hook come
That's
out in the net.
That's always a fucking bonus. Yeah, nice. Do you want me to slide that under?
Yeah.
Slide?
Well, that was a nice early fish. 17 pounds on the dot. Nice little common. And it kind of makes me want to try it extra hard to catch one myself. I've raised the butts of my rods, as you can see, as high as they could go, just to put my tips lower to the water. If anyone's new to fishing, that just stops your line. If your line's high in the water, the wind catches it, makes your buzzers beep constantly, and it's really irritating if you're having a good sleep through the night and your buzzers keep beep beep, because you always want to check your rods when you've got a beep, but when it's just the wind it can really annoy you. Another thing, rods I'm using today are my Witchwood 10 footers. On a lake this size you don't need big pit reels, even though I'm using mini big pits, but they balance really well with my 10 footers. You don't need 12 foot rods on a lake as small as this. Easy cover, you can just flick it out there to the island. You got no real distance to cast. Made up a few balls of ground bait. I put this in, not in this, sorry. I've got the syrup of Scopex squid. Poured that in, a bit more attractant. Gonna keep topping it up round this corner, round the back of the island there. So one rod will be loaded up with my new ground bait mix. Further along down the island where the fish have been lunking, it's kind of a quiet still spot on the back of the island. Wondering if the fish like to sit up there, so that is where one of my other rods is. Third rod still along the margin edge, but apart from that common carp, nothing's going on. This wind is getting a bit heavy, but my bank is calm. Really odd. Look at the trees over the back, and the direction of the wind is hello, hello,
direction of the wind is pushing completely into my corner of the lake, getting quite a bit of debris, what's floating on the surface, gathering down in the edge there. So hopefully, if the debris is there, hopefully the fish will be on their way as well. Fingers crossed. What I'm going to do, something different that I haven't tried. I'm going to take a pop-up and I'm going to cut it into a square. Just because lakes like this, very commercial, seen boilies every day of the week. Maybe, go on, middle rod, beep. They see boilies all the time. Even just changing the shape of your bait may trick the fish into taking it. So I'm going to carve this into a square or a rectangle shape, put it on the hook. I'm going to have to do it off camera because, like I said, I forgot my tripod, so I can't film as I would normally, but I'll show you in a sec. So all I've done, as you can see, I've shaved off the sides and the bottom to make it more of a square shape, so instead of looking like a round boilie, it looks like something different, even like a large chunk of corn almost. So that's going to go out there. I'm going to put a PVA on. I've got some live maggots from a friend. PVA of maggots with this popped up above it like this. Let's see what it brings. Maggots escaping from the PVA, but also on the hook I've stuck a couple of red maggots as a little bit of extra attractant. I need to get this out there before all the maggots leg it. Got some pellets here. It's Copex squid. Going to do something I like to do on most sessions. Bait up an area that I'm not actually fishing at the time. So I've just walked along the bank, down the margins. Just going to put a few handfuls of pellets out. And again, pellets. Doing this and not fishing to the spot, not having a line going directly there, hopefully will, whoa, this wind, hopefully will tempt in some fish, and hopefully they'll feed freely, and then through the day I will keep an eye out if I see any feeding bubbles. I know my plan is working and may drop a rod in this area. While the weather was rough and the rain was coming down, look, I've even got my ground bait balls in the bloody bivvy with me just so they don't get spoilt by the rain. To kill a bit of time, just making up a supple. This is silkworm. This is, I don't know if they still sell silkworm, you know, been in my tackle box for years, but I made a silkworm rig up, simple hair rig, made a long hair on it. This boilie is a bottom bait, this one is a pop-up. It's going to look like this when it sits on the bottom, like a snowman they call them. Going to give that a blast. My friend Scott often catches fish on double baits, and I always thought it was overkill. I thought that's too much, but if someone can catch on them, that means I can catch on them, so I want to give that a blast. Fish on, that's what we want. Dan's got beeps. Go on, Dan. Here he comes. He's in.
And he, I think that might be pushing £20. Yay!
Ghosty kind of, isn't it?
That's really power coloured, and that's
Oh, it's all mould like that.
that's a £20 all day. Where's the hook? Come out.
On the nose.
25, 27, 26 me. What do you reckon, Bal?
Oh, I might be over 26.
20, 22, 24, 20. The PB, brother.
You're weighing the cradle as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, he's off the ground.
That's heavy, I reckon.
So that's 26,
26
on
on the dot.
Oh, it's the new one then.
the nose.
Is that your new PB? PB again.
Nice, fucking hell.
Sweet. Yeah, give him a.
Well, I never. Oh, that's a lovely fish. Nice. That's a fucking lovely fish.
Round one. Yeah,
The old penny picture.
that would upside down fish. That'd be a great picture. He's not giving up.
Unbelievable.
Happy days. Bal's covered.
26 on the nose.
He's worth it.
Lovely jubbly.
Yay.
New PB.
Oh, I'm gutted, people. I just had a real good take. My left rod out to the island. Let me show you. Out to along the island there. I just had a real slow take, as you would from a big fish. The end of the rod was just pulling round. Click, 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 click of my spool. It wasn't tearing off. And that's often an indication of a big fish. I jumped up, struck it, hooked it, and it was just plodding. Fish, I've never hooked a fish that moved so slow, like it was in control, like it was in control of the fight instead of me. And it hardly moved, it was just plodding, cruising, the slowest fish ever. And I was like, this is a lump, this feels big. And I had it on for about 20 seconds, this fish just doing what he wanted to do. And then the hook pinged out. At least I was getting worried because I hadn't even had a run or a touch. Even though I've lost it, it's a sign that the fish will take my bait. And I've got to keep going. There was lots of bubbles fizzing up just down here, about 2 or 3 rod lengths out. So I've reeled in a rod, small PVA, plonked it on top of the feeding fish. Come on. I was just having thoughts about this ground bait, even though I know it's very good and people catch on it. As in Graham, Totally Awesome Fishing. That's his, basically that's his mix. And he does really well, but I think the difference is the places he goes, he knows he's going to catch. He was on Berry Hill. He knows he's going to get fish all day pretty much. So putting a decent ground bait in, you know the fish are going to take it, and you're just going to have fish all day. Whereas on this lake, a water like this, it's not easy. It's not a runs water, so you're waiting for fish. So I'm not sure ground bait is the thing to do. It's kind of 1 or 2 takes through the day is quite a good result. It's not like you're going to get fish after fish. So ground bait, maybe it will work, maybe it will draw the fish in, but from what I've seen so far, don't seem to be the case. I think it's a sit and wait kind of lake. Yeah. Anyway, I've got a rod out on the ground bait, on the method, with a few pellets around it, with a spray of my squid Elphicks. And let's see what happens. I'm fishing mid-water now, away from the island, and that can produce. Time for some grub. There you go. I was quite tempted to have 8 bits of bacon because it could get wasted. It's only in my cool box, and if I don't eat all 8, I'll end up chucking it away. But 8 might be a bit overkill. I'll be well thirsty. I remember I did once when I was drunk, come home from the pub, and I cooked 14 sausages. 14 sausages. And I think I was so drunk, I fell asleep and didn't eat any. Oh shit, look. Oh, that'd be alright. Tell you what, I've decided I don't like these ridge monkey things. The amount of times I drop food on the floor. Does anyone else have nightmares with a ridge monkey? Bacon on the floor, eggs probably end up on the floor in a minute. Does the job, but it's a pain in the bum. They're so wobbly. I want to leave it open because of the weight of this. They end up just toppling over, food everywhere. You can't beat a cup of tea outdoors, cooked on a stove, with your rods out, can you? Oh, love it. I'm quite amazed that this margin hasn't produced anything at all yet. Quiet bank, there's no swims in the middle, it's only this and the one opposite, so that is a quiet bank. Unless the fish are just really wary, but... So where my pellets land is where my bait is. I'll show you, ready? Well, tiny bit further than that. I've just reeled in, I've got a pop up on. Putting a few handfuls, pellets, right along the edge, a few boilies dotted along. If a fish finds the bait, hopefully they continue feeding until they find our bait. Look at this side of the lake, glorious. It's like the North Pole where I'm fishing. Well, as you can see, knocking up a few PVA bags, broken up boilies and pellets. There you go, good few. I'm hoping he's gonna spring into life. My bobbin just went beep 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 up and down, a few beeps, then it happened again. So there is something on my middle rod, which is in the centre of the island, about a few 4 or 5 feet off of it. I don't go tight to the island because the island slopes down, and when you go really tight, your bait and your rig and everything rolls downhill basically because it slopes down. So when you come a bit slightly away from the island, then your bait sits where you've cast it to instead of rolling away. It's looking beautiful, the lake. A bit too calm for my liking. A bit of wind helps, absolutely helps with the fish feeding. Scott was chatting to me. He's got a take. He had to leg it. Fish on.
can't hear fucking nothing like on these corners, can you? You can hear anything.
Would hear them ones.
Better than I thought actually. Yeah. Bit of a size, bit of a lump.
Belly, belly, belly. I'll tell you what, one thing I need to do. Freya always says, have you patted its belly? So let's pat his belly. Pat, 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 pat. Here you go, Freya. Pat on the belly.
Maybe, how big? What? 16 to 18, do you reckon? Yeah.
16,
What a
7,
weight, Scott?
16, 17. Up you come. He's just had a poo on your mat. Is that mine? That's my rod. My bobbin has pulled up tight. And it stopped. I think I'm going to strike it. Could it be just sitting there doing nothing? That's the one on the island. I'm going to have to stop the video, investigate. Can you believe that? I've lost one fish and then I go to help Scott with the fish and then I have a take. Wasn't a proper take, although if I was in the swim maybe it could have been a better turnout. I could have grabbed that rod, struck, could have hooked a fish. Bumholes. Slightly different view of the lake. I've only shifted one swim along, but I've got one rod there, one rod there, one rod there, all up to the island about a metre or two off. Just because that's where I had my take. Scott's had two fish off to the other side of the island. I've only got a couple of hours to go. It's getting desperate. What's going to happen? Ooh, that was a mad rush. Quickly gathered everything under the trees. I've got a spider on me. Get off. It suddenly started raining out of nowhere. Clouds come over really quick. That's what this type of year is like. You suddenly, sunshine, rain, wind, you don't know what you're going to get all in one day. Leave it out, rain. I can't believe this. I'm surprisingly well sheltered. Thank you, tree. Got lovely bushy branches. Look at that rain. Right, last chance saloon, folks. Not long left. PVA bag of red maggots. Snowman rig. Juice. Oh. Flavour, flavour, flavour. Have some of that. That's it. Bobbin set. I'm on the spot where I lost my fish yesterday, but this time with the PVA bag of red maggots. They do. Everyone you speak to that fishes this venue often mentions use red maggot. There he goes. Done like a weird spiral. Carried on. What's going on? I only want to catch a carp. I'm getting an air display from a Spitfire. I think that sums up my luck for this trip. I just had another take. Left rod off the end of the island, PVA bag of maggots. was just a steady, it was a real slow take. Click, click, click. It was steadily taking out line. Struck into it. Whoosh. Felt a slight weight. Fish gone. Fish gone. I don't know if you can see my tyre on my Barrett is a bit lopsided. I'd pumped it up the day before. Tyre was solid. Wheeled it round. Got to the swim. Literally the first seconds of getting here. I'd driven across a hawthorn branch. Spike this long in my tyre. Psst. I pulled the branch out and the tyre went flat. Maybe that was the setup for my whole session. Come on. Half an hour to go. Time's ticking. Let me tell you one thing I'm doing different on this trip. I've got different hooks on. That could be my downfall. I'm not going to tell you the company because they seem a really nice mob, but these couple of last 2 takes I've had, there's just been no hook hold, and they're new rigs and new hooks from this certain company, and I wish them luck because they are always trying to keep their prices down instead of charging more like some certain brands. So I don't want to diss them, but this is the first time I've used their stuff and it's not worked out. Could be just bad luck, but I don't give second chances on hooks that have not landed me a fish. So next time round I'll be going back to what I'm usually using, wider gaped hooks. These hooks, yeah, they're just not doing it, and it's too it's too late in the day now. We'll be heading off home shortly. To say I'm disappointed is an understatement. That is 3 fish I could have had. The big fish that I lost wasn't actually a hook from this certain company. It was a ESP, is that? Cryogen gripper hooks, barbless, and it was a very long piece of braid. I thought I'd just try something different. I made a long rig, give the fish a bit of movement, a bit of time to potter about before he actually feels the lead, where usually I'm using short rigs, so the fish hasn't got to move very far until it's hooked itself and on the run. Because the fish in this lake are very nervous or very careful, as in what they're picking up and what they're feeding on, I made a longer rig to try and trick them into feeding, and it did work, and I hooked the fish, but then the hook pulled. So I could have had the record for this session of losing the biggest fish. It felt like I had a fridge on the line. It was like solid, heavy, moving so slow through the water, like a tank. I should just forget about this fish I've lost, shouldn't I? You know what it's like. Everyone's lost a big fish, and it plays on your mind. You think, what could have been, but that's in the past. 30 minutes to go. Can I nab one? We'll see, won't we? I reel in. Let's do a quick roundup of what's happened. The road bank swim. My friend had a 16, 17 pound common. Then the fish, where I had a few beeps I had to run away from when I was filming him. What we thought was an upper double turned out to be exactly 20 pounds. So he's had a 20 pound common as well. Other friend had a 26 pound new PB. Well done, mister. 26 pounder, nothing else since. Top rod, most fish anyway. What did he have? He had a 17 pounder, a 2 pounder. Didn't know there was any little fish in here, but he's had a 2 pound common. And then 22 pounds. Well done. Everyone's had fish except me, but I lost a big old lump. I've had a couple of other takes. I'm using new hooks. Very disappointed in these new hooks. I think that's why I've not done as well as I would normally down here. And yeah, to conclude, Plantation Lake, Elphicks, is not an easy place to come. That's why you can't find the videos or pictures online of fish caught from here, because not many come out. So for 3 of us out of 4 to catch fish, I think we've done really well. I was unfortunate. Might have been my hooks, might have just been bad luck, who knows. I don't know, I can't put it down to anything in particular, and I don't want to dwell on it. I just want to look forward to next session, more fish, and yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you've learnt something from this video, as there's not many videos of the plantation out there. All I can say is use your favourite bait. A lot of the fish that were caught were on pop-ups, just slightly off the bottom. A couple of the fish were on snowman rigs. The fish I lost was on a snowman, but then again a friend caught on a bottom bait. Whoa. Ooh. Nearly blowing my wig off. So yes, a few tips for you. Pop-ups work, bottom baits work. The last take I had a bit of fake corn popping up my boilie. Lots of methods work, and they love red maggots. Don't forget, if you're fishing Elphicks, bring some red maggots. They definitely help out and bring the fish on. Not so much on this session. Other lakes, they've worked very well for us. Anyway, subscribe, like the video. Hope you've learnt something. We'll see you soon. See you everyone.